There are three different ways to create a workbook in Excel. We can create a workbook from scratch, otherwise known as a blank workbook, which we're going to do in just a moment. Or we can create a workbook using a template we have on our computer, or we can create a workbook using an online template, which we'll do both of those a little bit later on. Just before we create an Excel file, we want to point out just a couple of more things about the Excel interface. First, at the top of the screen you have what's called a quick access toolbar. Now later we're going to be customizing this, but think of your quick access toolbar as a place where you have your most common shortcuts. This is a brand new installation of Excel, so right now we just see three shortcuts: save, undo, and redo. Later, we'll customize this quick access toolbar. As part of this ribbon, we have many different tabs, and we will be going through these in detail throughout the course. We have a home tab. Here on the insert tab, we can insert some different things into our Excel files. Here under page layout, we can control how the pages are going to look and how they're going to print. Later we're going to cover formulas in pretty good detail, so we'll be using the formulas tab for that. The data tab allows us to sort and filter data, something we're doing a little bit later on. If we want to add comments to Excel files, we can use the review tab. If we want to check spelling, we can actually check spelling here. The view tab allows us to view Excel files a number of different ways. Again, we're going to cover these in detail later on. The File tab does something a little bit unique. I've just clicked on File. It actually takes us to what we call the backstage, where we see some information about the file that we have open. We also have the opportunity to create a new file, so I'll click New. And for the first new file, we're just going to create a blank workbook. So I'll double-click Blank Workbook, and now we have a brand new file with nothing in it. So just to demonstrate entering a little bit of information here, let's say we want to do some kind of monthly summary or something like that. And one thing about when you build Excel files, don't worry too much about how the files look as you're building them. There's plenty of time later on to make this look good. If you've got some data to enter, just go ahead and enter it and make it look pretty later on. So let's say I want to do some first quarter details here, so I'm just going to put some month abbreviations across the top. I'll put some territories on the side. And I'll click in here and I'll put some numbers in for sales. And I'm tabbing through these different columns to enter these different numbers as we go through this. Now I'm going to press Enter, and notice it takes me back to where I started tabbing from, which in this case was column B for January. I'm not going to finish entering this right now. As you can see, we've got some data for the North and South territories. I don't know what the East and West sales were yet, so I'll worry about that a little later on. Notice that when we do start an Excel file in Excel 2016, it starts with just one tab. Now, previous versions of Excel going 2010 and back actually started with 3 sheets at a time. Here we just see one. If we want to add a sheet, which we will later on, we can just click the plus sign right here and get a new sheet. We don't need to right now, so we won't do it. So when you want to create a workbook from scratch, that's how you get started.